Signal Sciences is the industry's first web protection platform that works in any cloud, any container, any platform as a service, and any modern application architecture. The Signal Sciences web protection platform can be deployed in next-generation WAF, RASP, or reverse proxy modes, giving customers ultimate flexibility and coverage. Protect your web applications with Signal Sciences web protection platform. Signal Sciences, protecting applications, connecting teams. For more information, check them out at signalsciences.com/PSW. The average time between being hacked and realizing you've been hacked is 1 year. Can you afford to let an intruder roam your network for that long? Can your company weather the fallout when this comes to light? Black Hills Information Security can find the bad guys in your network and train you to do it yourself. Email consulting@blackhillsinfosec.com to find out how a hunt teaming engagement can help you find a persistent threat in your network. Has your network been breached? Cybereason can help you answer this question. Cybereason products hunt for threats within your network and eliminate them in real time. To Cybereason, real time means within seconds. Founded by former military hackers who don't play by the rules, they've built this experience into their platform. Harness ingenuity and imagination, not just code, to defeat attackers. Cybereason, disrupt the adversary and let the hunt begin. Welcome back, everyone, to Paul's Security Weekly. Quick announcement before we dip into this technical segment. The first B-Sides in Uganda is B-Sides Kampala, being held on October 14th and 15th. The CFP is open until July 15th. Some topics include network and web application security, innovative attack and defense strategies, malware analysis, biometrics, and evolutionary computing.
Stay tuned. I just heard from one of the...
That's all I had. There's more to that.
I just heard from one of the organizers that they may have to be postponing the con a little bit.
Oh, really?
But I'm not sure. So don't hold me to that.
Still submit your CFP, though.
Absolutely.
bsideskampala.com. Okay. So, when I think of the term security ninja, security rock star, I think of Carrie Roberts. I don't know about you, Larry. Carrie is most certainly a security ninja. Your skills are very scary, Carrie, actually. Having some insight into some of the mailing lists internal to BHIS, I'm like, wow, like I don't want to be on the other side of that penetration test if it's Carrie. So, Carrie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Paul.
So, Carrie, you write some wonderful articles for Black Hills Information Security.
Amongst other things. And you're here today to tell us about ProxyCannon. So what I want to know first, Carrie, is what problem are you trying to solve with ProxyCannon?
Okay, I was trying to be stealthy. I was on a red team where you try to be a little more real life than pen test, where you just blast people and get the information you need and get out and write a report. So I had some time and I wanted to do an attack and I didn't want it to get noticed. So I was looking for a solution that would hide the source of my attack and even rotate through different IP addresses so it would go less noticed. Instead of a bunch of traffic coming from one IP that might be noticed, I wanted to divvy that out amongst a bunch of IPs and have that go unnoticed.
Very nice. Now, did you write ProxyCannon, or is this something publicly?
No, this is from the folks at Shell Intel. Hans over at Shell Intel had this available on GitHub for freely downloaded, and I gave it a shot, and it did the job for me.
Excellent. So now, you don't just need that. I'm assuming you need an Amazon AWS account as well to pull this attack off. Is that correct?
Yeah, so ProxyCannon is a Python script that just automates the task of launching cloud servers for you, and then launching a new one, shutting down the old one, and routing your traffic to those new instances, and it does that through your Amazon account.
So it's constantly creating new instances, not just like creating 3 and leaving those as static?
Yeah, it's an option to have it rotate. So I use it with the rotating, and every couple of minutes it brings in a new one and shuts down an old one.
Oh, nice. Ooh. Nice. That makes so much more sense now. Okay, sorry, carry on.
Go ahead, Carrie.
No pun intended.
Carry on. Okay, so an example of an attack that I like to do is a password spraying attack, where you have a long list of usernames and you want to guess 1 or 2 passwords for each of them, something that's easily guessed that people commonly use, and you're likely to find one. So, for example, I may like to spray an Outlook web access portal for email and get into people's email, but I don't want this noticed. So if I just launched this password spraying attack outright, the defenders are likely going to see a lot of traffic from one IP and a lot of a ton of failed logins from that one IP, and that's going to be noticed. So instead, I can slow that down, and I can also use ProxyCannon. So maybe I could just guess one set of credentials every 3 minutes, and I use ProxyCannon so that every guess shows up as from a different IP. So that becomes a lot harder to detect as being malicious versus just something that happens day to day.
That's awesome. You want this set up now? Don't
I just had an evil idea where to use this. Because clearly, John Strand versus John Strand.
Yes. Oh, I didn't think. A lot of times, like voting sites and things like that are restricted to. Sorry, we're just having evil thoughts over here.
I'm reminded back to the Sands Hackfest last year, in which the speakers were given a magnet link to promote our talks, and the person that had the most accesses of that link would win like a Parrot AR drone or something of the like. No, it was something better than that. But the top three finalists, the top three folks, all cheated. For example, Tom's honeypot that he has out there for all of the spam crawlers and such. He set to basically a 403 redirect, or not a 403 redirect, a 301 redirect.
301 or
302 redirect. So that when they hit his webpage, they redirected to that. And he won. Yep. And then Lee Neely scripted it, and I don't remember what his deal was with scripted it. And I was maybe the smartest of them, and I had my intern script it to stand up a Tor circuit.
Yes.
And access the page, tear down the Tor circuit, stand up a new Tor circuit, and record the IP that it came from. And in fact, I found out that there are very few actual Tor exit nodes that allow port 80 outbound.
Interesting.
Yep. At the time, there was about 300.
You needed ProxyCannon.
I did. What? Yes.
Yes.
So, Carrie, tell us more.
Yeah, I do have a demo ready. And also, I did do a blog post that added some little tips and tricks for if you're going to do this attack. So, over on the Black Hills, I'll share my screen here, and then we'll do the little demo.
Awesome.
Excellent. Nice placement. Black Hills Information Security.
Yeah, so on the blog post is where you'll want to get more details than I can go over today, but I show a little example starting up ProxyCannon. The -R is what tells it to rotate, and then I start up 3 instances. And I've actually got that going here in live. I've got ProxyCannon running, and you can see that every couple of minutes it replaces one IP with another IP, and it's routing the traffic. So if I were to start a burp, excuse me, on this Kali instance in this VM and run a password spraying attack, all my traffic would route through these IPs. But something that I added on the blog post was how to actually use burp from another machine, because when I do pen testing, I like to run burp from a Windows machine and not from my Kali machine for various reasons. One example is I like to have IE available because some apps require I'm testing, even though I don't like to use that, but sometimes I need to. So I like to have the extra browsers available. So to do that, on the blog post, I posted how you could route your traffic from your Windows machine through burp to the Kali instance that's running ProxyCannon, and then ProxyCannon takes care of the rest. It'll route your traffic through these cloud instances.
So ProxyCannon's like the instance of it is a proxy to other proxies.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
So I have burp set up here, and when I do password spraying, I use the burp intruder tool, and I set up an attack here. So I've got it set to only one thread, and it's going to send a request every 2 seconds. And I've also brought up over here a web server that I have, and we're watching the logs on the web server. So if I start this attack, we start seeing request number 0, request 1, request 2, and just take note of the IP address here. It's 83.169. It's always the same. So this let's say this was a failed login attempt. All these failed login attempts are going to come from our true IP here, and that's what we want to hide using ProxyCannon. So if I go back into Burp, there's an option to use a SOX proxy under user options, and this is hard to read, but
trust her, it's there.
That's okay.
On connections. Yeah. So if we use a SOX proxy, if we set up a SOX proxy and use it, we can point that to ProxyCannon. And so on that blog post, you can see how to set up that SOX proxies. First, you're going to set up dynamic port forwarding, and you can do that with PuTTY on Windows. And all you need to do is go into the SSH tunnels tab and set it up like this. Pick a port that you want to listen to on your local Windows machine and put the ProxyCannon IP address there. Select dynamic and click add, and that's all you need to do to set that up. So we'll do that right now.
That's the equivalent of SSH capital D.
Yeah.
Boom! And a port number.
Yes, and the port number.
Yeah, not that I've ever used that before. Multi-proxies deep.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the Linux equivalent of SSH-D. So, I mean, the Windows equivalent. So I'll pick 9876 and do dynamic. And this is the IP where I'm running ProxyCannon. And then just click add, and then we're going to connect there. Then we have to log in.
Or if you've already got an existing SSH session.
Or I trust the key to, it's how I VPN back into the studio.
Yep.
And I've just got it like scripted in the config. And there's other flags. Recently I found out there's other flags like run it in the background. Mm-hmm. So you can just run that. I forget what the other flags are. It's on my other computer.
But you can also modify an existing SSH connection to add port forwards, including dynamic.
Oh, interesting. You're already connected.
So you in your SSH session, it's like ~C, if I remember correctly, and it brings up the interactive SSH shell. And then you can add the SOX proxy, remove SSH port forwards. Back to you, Carrie. Sorry.
No problem. So we still have our traffic coming from our true source IP, but if we go over here and we choose to use the SOX proxy we just set up, we'll connect to our Windows machine on port 9876, which is listening, and that's going to forward it to ProxyCannon, which then forwards it onto Amazon instances. So we'll click that. Anyway, and then suddenly our IP address changes, and it's coming from 191 now, and then .49. So one thing, so it only rotates every couple of minutes. So we're sending a request every 2 seconds. So we're going to see repeating on those 3 instances. So I'll just take you over 1 sec to show you what's going on in Amazon, because this is pretty cool. But if we bring up our Amazon console, our dashboard, we can see running instances. So we've got 3 running instances, and these are the IP addresses, 100, 109, and 245. So if we go back to look where our traffic's coming from 49 and 191. How come that doesn't match up? Oh, I need to refresh it. I'm like, oh no, bad demo. Okay, 49, 191, 235, and that's where these are coming from. So in a couple minutes, it'll rotate out one and put a new one in. So when I'm actually doing this attack, I slow it down in my intruder options, and I do 1 request every 3 minutes, and then I just let that run around the clock. The last time I did it, I ran it for a month before the engagement started, and
oh God,
and just gathered credentials very quietly and slowly. Every credential attempt was from a new IP address, and that didn't get noticed.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Wow, that's awesome.
So, Carrie, this wouldn't be something you'd normally use on, say, an active web application pen test, especially where cookies are involved that are tied to a specific IP address and based on sessions, correct?
Yeah, if you needed to be authenticated and they were pinning that to an IP address, that could present some difficulties in.
Certainly. So, yeah, just making sure that the folks that are listening have some ideas as to where they need to be careful when they use something like that.
Yeah, and then I had just a few other tips on the blog post. If ProxyCannon has an issue, it will shut itself down. And in that case, suddenly your traffic starts coming from your true IP again, and your attack may be noticed or your request may be noticed. And to avoid that, I added in a few lines to the code I got from Shell Intel to shut down that SSH SOCKS proxy in the event that ProxyCannon shut itself down. And so that cuts off communication, and you don't reveal your true IP address. And then when you go back to check progress on your password spraying and you see that it has broken down, you can start it back up again. So that's important if you're going to leave this running unattended and not notice if something breaks down.
Yep, for like a month prior to an engagement.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will note that I have had trouble running this without any issues for long periods of time. I know that I contacted Shell Intel about that, Hans Lacan over there, and he's been working on some improvements, so I'm sure you should watch for that, and it'll be great.
And ProxyCannon run is included with Kali Linux?
No, it's just a script available on GitHub.
I gotcha. It's pretty standard Python libraries?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really easy to install. I mean, you download the script and install the library that does the Amazon communication, API communication, and then get an Amazon account, and that's about it.
Gotcha.
No, these are all using the Amazon micro free
they're
instances.
The free T2 micros.
Okay.
I think is what they're called.
T1 or T2 micros, whichever the smallest one available is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, T2 Nano actually.
Yep, and this may be outside of your knowledge, but given that you ran it for a month already, Amazon doesn't restrict the number of instances, and you can spool up and spool down in any given time frame.
Everybody starts out with a limit of 20, and if you want more, you can apply for that.
Okay. And of course, Amazon will take your money for anything, so you could probably pay to be able to do more of those.
So the free ones are totally free, bandwidth in and out, CPU, storage, compute?
For a limited period of time, yes.
Okay. I gotcha, for a limited period of time.
Yep.
So you can tear it down and build a new one.
Yeah. So you can stand up one of those micro instances, and they're free for like a year, and then you got to start paying for it, and it's still pretty cheap, but
nice.
And you can only have so many of them, but there's some restrictions, of course. But again, I'm sure.
You know what? My head's going to like Docker. Like I could spin one up and then run whatever I want, and spin a new one up and redeploy my Docker container to it.
Yep,
you could be fine.
You could.
Carrie, thank you so much. That was a fantastic, very useful tip for our listeners. Thank you very much for coming for the first time live. You've been pre-recorded on the show before. For the first time live, Carrie, thank you so much.
Wait. So 5 questions?
You want to ask 5 questions? Go ahead, Larry. You know what? You do the 5 questions this time. They're right here. Can you see them?
Okay, yeah, I can see them. So, Carrie, would you be willing to play 5 questions with Security Weekly?
Sure.
You could. You don't have a choice. So,
no, you're down to 4.
What was that?
You're down to 4 questions.
Oh, wow. So we haven't started yet. So I'm going to ask
totally
6
just
questions.
owned you.
She did. So, 3 words to describe yourself.
Detailed, outdoors, and boring.
Wow. Okay. If you were a serial killer, what would be your weapon of choice?
Poison.
I've heard that. That's statistically relevant that most women choose poison. Okay. If you wrote a book about yourself, what would the title be?
A Day in the Life of a Hacker.
Okay. In the popular game of Ask Grabby Grabby, do you prefer to go first or second? You knew this was coming. You work with John.
Yeah. Still into the last part of the show. I'll go first.
Okay. And choose 2 celebrities to be your parents.
Fictional, non-fictional, fictional? Is that a word? Fictional?
Yes.
Is non-fictional a word? Non-fictional is a word.
Yeah.
Fictional, non-fictional, alive or dead. They get all that? They get that?
Okay.
Close enough.
You're way better at that part
Yeah.
than I am.
John Strand and Judy. And I just went blank on her last name, but you know.
Judy
who I'm
Novak.
talking
Judy Novak.
We knew who you're talking
about.
about.
Yeah, Judy Novak.
Oh my God.
Great choice.
Wow.
Great choice. Love
That was
Judy.
a great choice, but
Love
man, I
Judy.
don't know if I want to picture that.
I don't know if I want John to be my dad. John's pretty strict. I don't know.
I don't want to know if never
John
mind.
and I have
Never
shared
mind.
parenting tips, put it that way, and I'm not sure that I want John to be my
Yeah,
dad.
but he's always traveling, so.
That's
wanna
true.
be
Yeah,
good.
that's true.
Get
That's
him.
true.
This is true. This is true.
The
But I
amount of
bet
interaction.
John's parenting tips had something to do with a dog eating kid poop and the kid eating dog poop.
No, those are my parenting tips. That's what happens on my watch, Larry. The kid eats dog poop, and the dog eats kid poop. It's very zen.
And the universe is equal
It's
again.
Zen, yes. Carrie, thank you very much for appearing on Paul Security Weekly. We hope to have you back sometime soon to do more technical segments because that was awesome.
Yes, it was.
Oh, and she froze right at the end. You see that?
At least she's smiling.
She is smiling.
At least she's smiling.
And then they cut to her, too. But she's got a nice smile on. We'll be right back with the security news. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.